Well, hi everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we're live on a Sunday afternoon, which means it's time for us to talk about coping with stress. And today, the subject I want to talk about yet again is mm, how important it is to keep doing new things, new to you, do creative things. And we're going to talk about why that is so important in just a moment. First of all, though, I wanted to make sure that we acknowledge some birthdays and special days. For those of you, excuse me for the allergy thing, I'll talk about it in a moment, but it's related to the fires that are going on in British Columbia, as you're going to find out in a second. So I just wanted to acknowledge that in August we've had a number of sad anniversaries. We on the 10th, it would have been Baba's birthday, but he passed last year. Um, we did on the 17th have Lauren's birthday, and Lauren in Tasmania. The 18th, Andy. 19th, Lionel. 20th, that's the twins, Catherine's twins. I know somewhere in here, Bernice, Daddy's passed sometime round about this time in August last year, I think. So or the year before even. Anyway, I just wanted to acknowledge that and just tell Bernice, if she happens to hear this, that we're thinking of her. 22nd, again, Louisiana Laurie, who passed, but we don't forget her. And then we've got Beth's birthday coming up on the 26th, mine on the 30th, and then Katie, for those of you who remember Katie in Texas, hers on the 31st. So that's quite something, quite a lot. Hi there to Charlotte. Good to see you, Charlotte. And it's really funny, Charlotte. I had never really given a great deal of thought about how tall you were until Jeannie made quite an issue of it when she was talking to me. So it's good to know that, that you are as tall as you are, and that you see the world from a very different perspective from anybody else. And for those of you who are now interested, how tall is Charlotte? She was telling me that she's 5'9", and that would be 2 inches taller than I used to be. Yes, and Charlotte saying that Jeannie is a wonderful, beautiful human being, and we know that is so true, isn't it? So I'm so glad to see you here, and hopefully you will um, enjoy what we have. First of all, though, let me just say I heard just as I was coming on to the broadcast that not only did the Baja get hit with the hurricane, but now it's also had an earthquake of I think, a magnitude 5 earthquake. Can you imagine that? They've had the wildfires, then they had the hurricane, and now they've got the earthquake. I would not want to be living in the Baja at the moment. So that is really, it's quite scary stuff that is going on, to put it mildly. And for those of you who have been following the news here in British Columbia, I believe we've been making the international news with the fires that we've got. I think we've got something like 170 something fires going on at the moment. And quite honestly, I realize now that the problems I was having on Friday, you remember, my eyes were streaming, and I was blaming it on the fact that my um, antihistamines weren't working properly. Quite honestly, I have to tell you, it's because of the smoke. I realized afterwards it's because of the amount of smoke in the air, and it doesn't matter, how much I keep my doors and windows closed. That smoke is coming into my life, and it's affecting me, and affecting my lungs. So I just wanted to make sure that you're all aware of that. Be very, very careful. And in fact, it really has impacted people around me. Yvonne and Wade were due to go up into the Kelowna area for this weekend and had to cancel because, they're not allowing, they're really recommending nobody goes there unless it's vital. And then even then they're saying don't go. So it's really quite scary. Right, now here's my tip for the day. Buy yourself a bottle of this stuff. Now, they're not paying me to advertise it. The reason is it has the best straw system of any bottle I know. And the straw is built in. Can you see it? It's not some sort of pathetic little thing that floats around when you take the top off. And by the way, the top comes off really easily if you happen to have arthritis as I do. And the top just looks like this. And then this red part slots into the built-in straw in here. So when you put it back on, there you go. Now, the reason I want to talk about this is because once you've used it, by the way, this is called the Daily Shower Cleaner. Once you've finished it, you probably want to refill it. And that's why you've got the bottle. And this is great for floors or anything, by the way. So I've just refilled mine. Smells great. 50% white vinegar, 50% water, and then to cover the smell of the vinegar, put in any essential oil that you like the smell of. And mine at the moment is basil blue sage. So I think that's what I put in here. You know that you've covered the smell of the vinegar when you're actually spraying it so you can get the aroma. Yeah, that's what it is. Okay, so however, what I'm saying is, what I really like about it, you don't have to rinse it, you don't have to shine it up, you just spray it on. Just before I get out of the shower, I just spray all my shower and walk out. And very occasionally, I'll see a water spot. It means I just missed somewhere. But, and I have big glass doors on my, I have a wall-to-wall shower in my bathroom. And, so that's a lot of glass on there. This does it. So I thought I'd share that with you. All right, so now then, for those of you who've been watching for some time, you will probably also remember, yeah, let me see if I can just think about this one for a second. Just hold on, I'm trying to see where it is. Anyway, so I found the vanilla. I don't know if I told you that. And what I find interesting, it was all wrapped up properly, and then it has a big thing on it saying to remember to shake it. So the question is, how long ago did I make this? Was it 3 years ago? I'm going to have to look. But obviously it was before the fire. And it survived all of that, and it was, really nicely wrapped. So, and I'm still shaking it. And now I'm going to open it up and start using it. So that was very exciting for me. One of the main points that I want to get over here is what we don't realize is how important it is to be doing new creative things every week. To balance out your stress. That's kind of, Charlotte's saying there's going to be some powerful vanilla. Yeah. I'll let you know, Charlotte. The main point about it is that it is, I'm always looking to how do I balance out the amount of stress in my life. And we absolutely all have it. Yeah, maybe I should actually add it to the website, potent vanilla. while stocks last. And what I'm talking about here is balancing out your left side of your brain and your right side. The reason is because we spend so much time dealing with stress. And what I want you to do is be more and more aware, is to balance that out. Sorry, I'm laughing because Charlotte's saying, good use of the vanilla. Put it in the spray. Nice thinking there, Charlotte. I was thinking about baking with it, but that's also a good idea. So in order to do that, though, in order to be more creative, it requires that we try something new 9 times out of 10. All right. So here's the quote. This is for everyone who tries to learn. Did you learn anything this week? Who tries to grow? How did you grow this week? All right. Who tries to respond kindly and wisely? How many of you have been practicing that creativity? All right. who tries to recognize their own issues instead of blaming everybody else. This is for everyone who tries to be their best, even when they're not feeling their best. I see you, I appreciate you, and I hope you know you make the world a better place just by being you. And there are times when we forget how important we are in the process. And the only person who gets stressed out is us. The only person who gets overwhelmed is us. And it all has to do with what's going on up here. Have you noticed there's some people where there isn't somewhere in the world there is that expression that says, if you want something done, give it to a busy person. Don't give it to somebody who spends their life sitting on their butt doing diddly. Give it to somebody who's busy. Why? They have learned the art of multitasking. They have learned the art of focus. They have learned the art of not wasting time. They just get things done. And I wanted to give you an example of something that Lauren shared with me this week. Lauren, for those of you who don't know, is one of our viewers, and she lived in Tasmania, that little island in the south of Australia, part of Australia. And what she did was she decided that she'd give up doing scrapbooking so that she could concentrate on her university work. Very noble idea. The only thing is, she now realizes that she cut out the relaxation she used to get from studying. Does that make sense? And so now what she is saying, having sold everything that she had to do with scrapbooking, that she's going to start buying some of it back again, because she realizes she is missing out on that balance. And I do hope that makes sense with you all. So it's important for you to know that in order to get balance, you're going to have to spend time you don't have. And the interesting thing is, if you don't make the time, then you will pay the price. If you don't make the time to balance and be creative in your mind, you will pay the price. Charlotte's saying, okay, I'm crying. She said, I had a moment in Maine when I took my friend on a beach walk, and he didn't remember when he last walked on a beach. He was missing out on a bit of balance. He's always so busy. Well, Charlotte, how kind of you to do that. And yes, it's amazing what a walk on the beach will do. And by the way, if you can't get to a beach or if you can't walk, there are so many videos that you can pull up, and where people are taking walks, and those videos can last a whole 20 minutes. How many of you know that with the advent of social media, our ability to focus for more than a couple of seconds has been severely shifted? So the idea that a video would take 20 minutes and you just got to sit and just watch it for 20 minutes. Isn't that amazing? We can't find 20 minutes now. So I want you to think about that, because it's really, really important to understand what social media is doing to your brain. Charlotte's saying, I wanted the beach walk for me. I didn't know that he would be moved. Well, there you go. You see, Charlotte, always making a difference. So Jody has been playing with something new. She's got herself a new air fryer, not like mine, one of the drawer ones. And they have a big learning curve. I know it's scary. Believe you, I remember how many times did I set off fire alarms and all sorts of things when I got mine first one. But I now know that since I've had the air fryer, I have not turned that monstrosity on more than once. And then it was to warm up food. It wasn't to use it as an oven. It was to keep food warm. I do all my cooking. Now, I'm on my own, but if you're one or two people, you don't need an oven bigger than that. That's what I've proven. And so it's a really important thing to find out that. Also, I found out that 9 times out of 10, you do not need the heat that you think you do to cook things. I'm amazed how many times I cook things at a really low temperature, like at 250 Fahrenheit, rather than 350 or 450. And it's just like, in the summer, you don't want that thing kicking in at 450 degrees. It's just like, hello, I don't need that much heat in my house. And, and I do need to tell you that right now, it's a very pleasant 80 degrees in my kitchen. Now, you might say, wow, 80 degrees, Sal, that's a lot. Believe me, it's the first time in about 10 days that it's been under 90. So I'm feeling almost like I need a sweater on right now. Now, Jody has not only made a change in terms of how she's cooking food, but as you know, she had that gastric sleeve thing put in. And so she's had to learn a whole new way of eating small meals. All right? Small meals. Because she doesn't have a big stomach anymore. And it was quite funny because she and I were talking to each other this morning about the fact that it's amazing how our perception of what is a full meal looks like. And I was saying to her that I really pigged out yesterday. I had a twice baked potato, both, I cut it in half and filled up both sides and ate both sides. And that was a gluttonous meal for me, all right, that I had both of them. Normally I would only have one half. But what I said to her, what amazes me is if you had met me 10 years ago, the gluttonous meal would have included a steak this size, plus, maybe some vegetables on the side. Yeah, and it wasn't an overloaded one, funnily enough, Charlotte. What I did was I actually just made the mashed potato, and I used some cream cheese to mash the potato, not butter. I used some cream cheese. And then I used some leeks. Now, that's another thing Jody was talking about. Um, Another tip for you. I love leeks. And I keep my leeks out of the fridge and I just keep them in water and they last me nearly the whole month, just one leek. But I'm going to cut the bottom off this like that. Now, what Jody was talking about was that she actually saw me use these herb scissors and she decided to try them. Let me show you. I'm going to do it and then I'll show you what it does. The reason I'm talking about it is because this is what I put inside my twice baked potato. Now, I'm not going to do it all, but you see how beautifully it just cuts that leek. And now this is like, and it tastes of onion, and I'm not allergic to it. So it saves all that problem with cutting up onions and everything else when I just want that onion taste. I just put in some leek. Yeah, Charlotte is saying that scissor is a game changer, helps cut in a few seconds, yes, and beautifully cut as well. Now, you can do the same with, so this is basil. So if you're making a caprese salad or something, yeah, that's a whole basil leaf done. It's just that simple. So how many of you know whatever I'm cooking this evening is going to include some leek and basil? And I wanted to congratulate Jody on, trying something new. And I know that she's delighted with it. And the other thing was about the overloaded baked potato. I was going to have bacon with it, but quite honestly, I didn't need it. So there we go. Now, talking of steak, which I am going out to dinner tomorrow. and I am having turf and surf. It's my annual turf and surf meal with Doug. The reason being, it's his birthday on the 25th, and as some of you know, it is mine on the 30th, and so every year we go and have dinner. And so I'm very excited. I get to have my lobster dinner, and oh, Charlotte's correcting me. It's called surf and turf, not turf and surf. Well, quite honestly, it's the same thing, Charlotte. That's being very picky, honey. Get over it, really. Did I describe it? It's all the same. Yeah, exactly. Um, so I am really, really looking forward to it, And, the funny thing is that normally I have a steak this size, and Doug won't let me do that. He always says, give her the full, I will always ask for a small one. He always says, give her the big one. And I'm going, no, Dougie, I don't need the big one. He goes, give her the big one. And guess what? By the end of the meal, because I talk so much and we eat, we sort of eat while we talk and so forth, there is no steak left. I eat it all. So I'm really, really looking forward to it. But what I'm really looking forward to is that I am going to get to give him his present that I made, the elephants. So, and once that's given to him, then I can actually start making them for other people. But I didn't want to start making them for anybody until I had given it to him, because it's Doug's soap. It's going to have Doug's name attached to it. Now, I don't know where is today, but it's been so cute because she's been counting down the number of sleeps she has until her soap arrives, and the good news is it should be there by the end of the week. So it's very, very exciting. And talking of soap, I wanted to just make sure that you all know how much fun I've been having with this. Now, first of all, I'm getting to be a dab hand at making seashells. And I have also found that seashells are a really good way to use up spare soap. So, as you know, hang on. Every batch of soap that I use, I always end up with some of it left over. So I'm now learning to put those into those are ice cube trays, squares. And there's part of me that goes, this is going to make a really nice checkerboard pretty soon. And I will do that. The other thing is I tried doing it in the other one, another mold, but these I didn't like as much, but they're useful for coloring. So I try not to waste. So this, if I need to do some seashells, you understand, I would just melt down some of this. So that's how I do it. And now the question is, for those of you who didn't see it, this is a Sea Breeze number 4, where I didn't do waves on top, I did sand and seashells. All right, just so you know. And this is Sea Breeze number 5. Every week I do one more. So this is Sea Breeze number 5. And I want to tell you something. The fragrance in here is called Island Coconut. It's mind-blowing. I really love it. And what I thought I would do is cut it for you so you could see what it looks like inside. Now, this is always a bit scary to cut it, because what if I mess it up? That's life, right? It's like anything else we try. So I'm going to stick it in there. Here we go. Are you ready? that's hard already. Gosh, I'm amazed at how hard that is. Good exercise, upper body. Ah, smells so good. A little bit fell off, but we'll sort that one out. I might need to get, I think I'm going to get my blade. Hold on a second. My saw. Okay, I'm going to do it with my saw. Yeah, the anticipation. That's what I love about cutting them, because you never know what it's going to look like inside, because each one will be different. Yeah, yeah, it's even not easy. Yeah. Wonder why I used a different soap. Boy, that's a hard soap already. Yeah. Wow. So that's good to know that this soap is that hard so quickly. There we go. That went through. So there's another slice. Totally different. Oh, the aroma. So, there we go. Bit of upper body strength in there. So that side looks like that, and then this side looks like this. And I think for me, it's always so fascinating to see how each slice is so different. Just do a couple more for you. Yeah. Now I'm just the foam. I'm just pushing it down a bit because that only went on like late last night, and it's still hardening. But what I love about this, as I'm going to show you, in a second, I'm just going to cut two more so I can show you. See, on this side, looks like that. On this side, totally different. I'm just going to do one more now. Whoops. Oh, that's amazingly hard soap already on the bottom, but not on the top yet. This will all harden in the next couple of days. Once I've cut the soaps, I will then once the soaps are cut, I let them continue to harden. Now, what I want to show you is that was 6 different cuts. And this is what I love about making the soaps. Every one is different. Isn't that amazing? And and it's good that I'm cutting them today, because I can now see that some of the soap just needs a bit more love before it hardens. Where did that one come from here? But I still think putting the foam on top of it is worth it. Don't you think so? Oh, that's such a great thing. So, been a very, very interesting week of waiting. And I'll finish cutting that after the broadcast. It's been a really interesting week of waiting for that to. I've been preparing the colors all week. All the different colors. That's what I've been doing, is just preparing them all week. Some of the deep blue, some of the paler blue, some of the aquamarine colors and so forth. I have been making those up one more every day. And then yesterday, I actually made the bar. And it's made in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different layers. That, yeah, Jody calls them my bubble bars. So now some of you have mentioned that you have noticed a difference in my okay, so hi Kez. Kez is saying, hi, I like how unique every slice is, and it makes it not boring to look at. You mentioned coconut, so after the broadcast, because I now crave coconut and chocolate, we'll have to buy a Bounty bar, which has it in it. Yes, memories of England on that one, Kez. But I did think about, should I put coconut on top? Because I could have done, and I still could one day. But what I wanted to ask you is, do you agree that they are, I'm going to make 2 different versions of the sea breeze. One is with the foam, and then the other one is with the sand and seashells on top, because I think that's really pretty as well. What do you think? Now, I know what you're saying. What about foam with seashells on top? I want to tell you the fragrance on here, amazing. Now, I have to tell you that I also spoke to Manon, because that I had to send some soap to Manon. So here are my new soaps this week. So I thought I'd show you. On the left there is the Manon bar. That's what it's going to get called. And what it is shea butter and oatmeal with sweet orange. But then this one also is the Manon Bloom. And why? Shea butter, oatmeal, and jasmine. Now, the reason that I did special ones for Manon is she's allergic to aloe vera. So those are both going to have her name on it, so I will know they are soaps that don't contain any aloe vera. Okay. But so fascinating to keep coming up with these new things. And you know what I notice is as fast as I come up with a new combination, somebody will suggest another one. So obviously this is going to be a very long effort for me because every time somebody sparks my interest on a combination, I go, oh yeah, that would be nice. It's a bit like recipes that Jody did. And by the way, Jody, I saw a really interesting recipe while I was getting ready to do the broadcast. You know how those things um, get in your way, if you like. And it was so funny because I actually stopped for the 5 minutes and watched the video on how to make these particular scones. And I thought that is so nice. I really like that. Um, oh, okay. So Charlotte's mentioning that when she met with Jeannie this week, which she did, um, that she got, of course, from Jeannie, she got some of those mustards that we talked about. All right. So, and Charlotte's saying, how did I use mine? I'm still using mine. Hi, Anamete. Thank you for asking me about the wildfires, and always good to hear from the Denmarkians. Yeah, I know they're called Danes. Um, Sweetie, I said at top end of the broadcast, it's affecting the smoke is all the way down to where I live, and it's affecting my allergies. But I'm very fortunate. It's really serious. I wanted to show you guys that might be watching. This is what it did to my beautiful sunset last night. Normally, it would be a normal sunset. And this is what my sunset looked like last night. That's how much smoke there is. Don't know if you can see the color there, right? The whole sky has changed. That was before the sunset, obviously. That is not the moon, that's the sun. And that's how much smoke there is where I live. Yeah. So you can see it. Mine isn't. Mine's almost purple. It's past salmon and going in more into. I don't know if you can see that. Anyway, so it is really quite scary what that looks like. But am I very fortunate that I'm not in it? Very much so. Anyway, to go back to the story, Charlotte, I want to tell you that there are not too many things I can't put this on. If I'm making shepherd's pie, I'll put a teaspoon in of this mustard. If I'm making a steak, I'll put a teaspoon over the top and just smear it over the top. Or if I'm making chicken, I will use some over the top. I want to tell you, it just makes everything taste so good. So definitely. It goes a long way. I originally had three, and I think this is my last one. But maybe I should say that more loudly. Um, yeah, so it's the same as regular mustard. It just has a different taste. By the way, if you like cheese, it's really good with cheese. Just dunk. If you're making a dip, Charlotte says, "Oops, I'm not sharing." Yeah. So if you're making a dip, try some in a dip. Um, I find I got really creative. It's great with sour cream, in a sour cream mixture for vegetables. I use it basically, the more places you use it, the better. Mustard actually is pretty good for you, I think. Jody, could you help me on that one? I'm trying to think why mustard is good for you. Must have something to do with the vinegar. Um, hmm. Hmm. There's another thing. If you're making a salad dressing, throw in a teaspoon. You know, so good idea. So thank you for asking me the question. I appreciate that. Um, and yes, I do have lots of experience. Okay, so Kez is asking, does that coconut scent smell similar to the sunscreen of the 80s? I would say no. Um, it's more, it is more subtle than that. When I say more subtle, um, it's just really nice. My whole house smells of it at the moment. So you're thinking a soap with a coconut chocolate scent. Well, we haven't done a chocolate one. That's interesting. Yeah, the banana boat sunscreen. How many of you remember that? Gosh, I do too. Um, all right, so Jody, please make a note. We are going to be making a chocolate coconut soap, and it'll be called the Casbar. Coming from the Casbar, the Casbar. You see, that's what I'm doing. Is I'm trying to. I love these ideas that you've got guys come up with. And what should I do? Sort of make it like a latte, with the foam on top. Oh, and that was another thing I learned this week was I learned how that I actually got a different mix to make the foam, and it was so much easier. Remember, I was having a problem with the soap hardening so quickly I couldn't work with it. Thanks, Jody. I appreciate that. Um, so now I'm pleased to report that I've got a different soap and it's working much better, much better. So, Isabel, if you are going to hear this, you got 4 more sleeps until your soap arrives. She's been so excited. And if Erin, oh, and Manon, if Erin's listening, Erin, your soap is in the labeling department at the moment. Um, but how many of you can see that, it's just such fun that and it looks good in there, doesn't it? I'm gonna take some pictures like that, I think. I like that. Um, so Charlotte can remember the brand my mother used, but couldn't. Could have been we had it here in Australia. I think you did. I think it was around the world, the banana boat, that sunscreen. And I think we all grew up with it because there weren't very many sunscreens in those days. And how many of you remember sunscreens made with olive oil? I'm going, today we would say, really? You're going to put oil on your body and then go into the sun? But I can remember the sunscreen when I was growing up was like an olive oil. It was just like, hello, let me fry my skin now. So I just wanted to get to a quote here. Never be afraid to try something new because life gets boring when you stay with the limits of what you already know. Agreed? Life gets boring if you stay in the limits of what you already know. So what I want to do is to ask you, it's now August already. Seriously, we're nearly September, for goodness sake. So what results have you had this year of doing things that are new? If I came in and said, I want you to show me, good night, Charlotte, I want you to show me what you've done that is new this year. All right. Um, so the reason I say that is because whenever you do something that's new to you, um, it is a very exciting time. Thank you, Jody. Jody is mentioning that all the banana boat products were made in Australia. I did not know that. That's a learning moment. Thanks for letting me know that. So, what did you achieve this week that's new? I know Jody achieved a lot new this week. She planted some tomato seeds. You remember I kept talking about my tomato seeds and how well they were doing? Got a couple over there. Okay, so this is a tomato seed that came out of a seed, a grape tomato that came in from the store. And look at the root system on there. The root system's all the way down to the bottom here. Okay. All right. So isn't that amazing? Now, all it's doing is growing in water. It's, hydroponics. Now, Jody decided she would throw a couple of seeds in with her basil plant, which I thought was really interesting, but it started to grow. So, Jody, would it be fair to say that it is extremely exciting when you plant a seed of any sort in your life and it starts to grow? Charlotte is saying, I'm going on my first whale watching tour for my 41st birthday in September, and that's totally new to me. Yes, bucket list thing. All right, making soap was a bucket list thing for me as well, Charlotte, just so you know. I'd had it on my list of things I wanted to try all my life, and I've never had tried it. And so now I can put that, I will continue to play with it. I know that. I enjoy it. I enjoy it because it challenges my mind so much. So, Jody, I would say that I could be wrong on this, but I would imagine that the excitement you feel watching your little tomato seed grow is the same excitement you feel when you are talking to Peeps, your canary. So, you look at it and you go, these are all things that are very important. Yeah. So Jody's saying, I get excited to check the progress of the seedling every day. Yes. And what Jody didn't realize was if you're growing a seedling, you need to keep turning them. So, because they will automatically grow towards the light. Kez is still thinking about that soap. Listen to this. That's what I love about my viewers. Kez is saying, now what about a chocolate mousse with foam for whipped cream and sprinkle of shredded coconut on top? I think that would be awesome. What should we call it? The Kez coconut cream. What would you like to call it? That does sound good there. What fragrance would you like in there? I think so. I like a great soap. So a chocolate mousse I can make. I've done that already somewhere. Yeah. This was not chocolate, but this is a mousse cake here. So this is a mousse. Okay, so a chocolate mousse. Okay, Jody, please do a screenshot of that so I know what Kez wanted. And obviously the first bar that comes off the supply will be yours, Kez. So if you'd be very kind and send me your address, that will be the Kez bar as opposed to the Kez bar. It's like I really wanted to call the shampoo bar and the poo bar, but I thought maybe that's the wrong message. The shampoo bar. Yeah. So I think that sounds really, I think I'll make a loaf of that. Right? Because that'll be a really nice one to make a loaf of with the cream on top. Yeah, I want to tell you something. Kez is saying, I heard that people would put olive oil on them and lie out in the sun to get that extra tan. I used to do that. Seriously, Kez, before we learned better. I want to tell you, I can remember in my teens doing that. When you ran out of the commercial stuff, you just go and get some olive oil. Yep. I mean, I don't know about you, but right now, I want to throw up when I think about the fact I did that. But what did we know? We didn't know any better. Mind you, we were doing that while we were smoking as well. And I want to tell you, kids, this is not a fond memory of mine, but it is a memory. I can remember being as white as the driven snow from England, going to the Mediterranean and going out in the hot Mediterranean African sun, right? North Africa. Um, I was in the North African sun, and I burnt so badly that my skin split. About this much of my back just split open. And the doctor said he had never seen it before. But the good news is I survived. And I can't help but thinking that that probably is why I had two lots of cancer scares on my back, because of what I did to my back way back in my teens, late teens. So you're asking me, what did I do with my boob that got cancer? Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. I have no idea. Now, some of you heard on Friday a magical story where I actually had a strong feeling about somebody that I knew, but I hadn't been in touch with for a long time. But I really kept thinking about them. So I said, this is ridiculous. I need to find out what's going on, because we know that that happens. Well, it turned out that there was something going on in their life, and it was very exciting. They had moved all the way to Louisiana, and it was so fascinating because they've opened up a coffee shop in this Louisiana town that has, one coffee cart and apparently a small sort of coffee shop, but not a gourmet coffee shop. Doesn't even have a Starbucks in town, for goodness sake. So they've opened up this luxury coffee shop. And the fascinating thing to see was their opening weekend, where the whole town came to visit. And can you imagine how exciting that was? They've been working on it since November. That's a long time. And they got to open this weekend. Can you imagine how tired they must be, but also how exhilarated they must be? Oh, interesting. Kez is saying I interviewed a lady last week to be one of my social workers in Chosa, and it starts on Friday. That's awesome. So to me, it's always interesting that you get the right person to be with you. And I say that because I noticed that when I went back to the cancer clinic and I had a change of oncologist, I really connected with the second oncologist a lot more than I did the first one. The first one was very matter of fact, and you have to be very matter of fact to be an oncologist, let's be honest. But, she didn't have a lot of what bedside manner to her, all right? And that doesn't mean that she's a bad oncologist. It probably means she's a brilliant one and probably the top one. But I just, when you're going through that sort of stuff, you really want something a little more connected, if you like. And so here's the thing that I wanted to remind you all of, which is, why have I been doing all of this creative stuff? Because I can. How many of you remember that when I went on that anti-cancer drug in February, and this was a drug I had to take because the cancer I had in my boob was one that feeds off estrogen. So after the operation and after you've recovered and you're getting back into what you think is normal life, you then find out that they recommend that you take a drug that will kill off the estrogen in your body. And then they read you the 101 other side effects that this drug will have or could possibly have. And quite honestly, when you've heard them all, you wonder, why would I take a drug that does that much damage? And the answer is because it could save you from getting another bout of cancer of that type. Now, what I'm amazed about is that in this day and age, I could have 6 other cancers going on in my body that I know nothing about, right? Because we don't have a test yet that will tell you, okay, you do have cancer, but it's this type, and this is where it's located. I can't believe we haven't got that far yet, but we haven't. So the interesting thing is the reason I was made sure that I was so creative this month was because one of the effects that I found from taking the drug from February to the end of July was that it sort of put a damper on my creativity. It put a damper on everything, quite honestly. My brain had a damper on it. My energy level had a damper on it. My creativity, my ability to think definitely had a damper on it. I was literally incapable of putting a broadcast together some days. As some of you know, I was having to cancel quite a lot of broadcasts because I just didn't have the brain power to be able to put it all together. Or I couldn't stand for that long. That was another issue. Now, I've had nearly a month without a drug at all. They recommended I stop it for a month, and then on the 28th, I will start a new drug. Can any of you imagine that's really scary to me right now? Scary to think what the new drug may do to me. And so, does it make sense to you that that's one of the reasons why I have really spent extra money to do everything I can to enjoy um, the creativity that I have got this month? Because I don't know, it might be the last time I get that creative, all right? But I'm hoping that's not true. But what I can feel is every morning when I wake up, how many of you saw how exciting it is to cut a bar of soap, all right, and see that each one is completely different? And what I want you to imagine is every morning I'm waking up because I'm inclined to pour my soaps late at night. And that means I don't mess with them until the next day. And when um, I did the research for Manon, right, this particular shea butter with oatmeal in it, obviously a very healthy bar to have. This one, when I first got it out of the mold, I went, oh, I like that. I really like that. Then I wanted to let you know that I've got a new gizmo this week, and this is another thing that gets exciting. I need to cover my keyboard for a second. Hold on. And you'll see why. Okay, I'm just covering my keyboard here. And this is a gizmo that cuts the edges of the soap. Okay, so what you do is you take your soap, okay, and put it in like that. And then you take this little thing and you just clean off the edge. Foam is a little. We knew that was going to happen, guys. We can do this, though. That's why that foam is still a bit. It hasn't adhered properly yet. It will. So now it gives it that sort of. I don't know if you can see that professional finish at the corners, the bevel. And then you can also do it on the bottom. So then you've got, I don't know if you can see that bevel. Can you see that bevel? I hope so. Anyway, it just gives it a really nice clean finish. And then you end up with a lot of soap that is not on your keyboard. And I will tidy that up later. So it is a long process. And what I'm interested to see is what happens between now and this time next month, when I will have been back on the new drug for a few weeks. And I'm hoping that you guys won't see a dramatic change. I'm hoping that my mind will continue to function. And I'm hoping that all will be easier, but it may not. And then I have that critical decision to make, which is, do I not take the drug and have quality of life? Or and an increased risk of possibly getting cancer back of that type, or do I have a reduced quality of life, severely reduced quality of life, and take the drug? Now, the good news is I know somebody that's on this drug that I'm about to start, and they tell me they don't have the symptoms that I had. So I'm hoping that it'll be better for me. But there is a third drug that I could try, apparently. So we'll see. How many of you know it's a bit scary? Right? It is a bit scary. And so I wanted to make sure that you guys know that this is all part of the process for me. Rather than sit down and be scared, I am being productive. By the way, one of the things that I'm really being productive with is doing the website. And the shop hopefully will launch tonight. We will see. But that is what I understand, is that we should be able to launch it tonight. Now, you and I both know when you're launching something new, I don't care how many hours you've spent on it. And believe me, I've spent a lot. There are going to be glitches. See, that's life. Life is full of stress. And then some people will judge those glitches. Well, that's not very professional. How come that doesn't work properly? Well, the reason it doesn't work properly is we didn't get to do it live. We did it in beta form, but we didn't actually put it up live. When it goes live, different problems occur. So the other thing is I spent a lot of money with my web guy for him to get the shop ready for us. Which is really kind and of him to spend the time, and I was happy to pay him the money. But it's like it's more expense that I hadn't planned on at this time. But here is the truth. The truth is it has kept me busy. It's kept me occupied. It's kept that side of my brain going. And although I've been using the other side of my brain to do the website stuff, but I have definitely made sure that I did not have a whole lot of time to sit around thinking, what if that second drug is just as bad? Because that is something I can worry about if and when we find out. And we hope that it doesn't. And and I keep thinking about all the things that Jody does to keep her mind occupied away from all the illnesses that she has. And I want to say, Jody, that part of the reason you are as well as you are, and for those of you who don't know, it was absolutely amazing that she went to the people for a follow-up on her gastric sleeve operation, and they were stunned that she has lost 50% of her weight in this 1 year. Is that 1 year, Jody, or 2? But she's lost 50% of her weight, and apparently that's the first time that they've ever had that happen. Most people lose about 30, 2 years, yeah. Most people lose about 30, 35, somewhere in there, but Jodi's lost 50% of her weight. Uh, that's not just because of the surgery, that's because she's eating properly. And, and also, quite honestly, because she's been really sick. And she's been struggling with nausea for 6 months. And I don't know how many of you would want that. All right. And that's one of the other things that I'm saying, that sometimes the things that make you better make you worse. And I want you to be aware of that. Jodi's saying that it's been wonderful to watch me this month, as I have been so creative, because she has been able to witness the joy. Jodi, if you could see me in the mornings, you could see that little kid in me go, oh, that worked. Now, I want to tell you, do any of you know that feeling? Where you struggle and struggle and struggle, and then you go, it worked. Now, funny enough, I had one of those moments, and you don't get those moments unless you try something new, right? You don't get those moments if you don't try and solve a problem. You only get them when you take a problem and try and fix it, or when you try something new and do the things in a way that works. I'm not saying the right way, because I have found some of my best creations have been mistakes. I found that out when I first did pottery. When I first did pottery, I used to put my rejects and discount them by 50% and put them on a different shelf. You know what I found out? People liked my rejects, where the color crawled across the clay completely in globs, instead of running beautifully down and all uniform. When it went completely wrong, people thought that was so artistic. How did you do that? And I went, obviously I have a wrong shelf here. I then renamed the shelf the unique shelf and doubled the price. Do you get the difference? The difference is nobody but Sal knew that was a mistake. And I can either advertise it by giving it away for next to nothing, or I can go, you are so lucky, there will never be a second one of these. And I think in a way that's why I love the soap so much, is when I do the loaf of soap, is because I know that every single bar will be different. There is no way two can be the same. And the same way is no two, that's why they're numbered. I'm up to Sea Breeze number 5 now. And by the time I get to 105, and I have a feeling I will, that quite honestly, I will still be fascinated when I cut them. I just find it, when I cut them, it's just like, wow, look at that. That is so pretty. So pretty. And has it been without its mistakes? Of course not. I've had mistakes, have them every day. But you see, you can't grow in life. You can't grow, at Jodi, you're going to have lots of oops moments with your air fryer, until after a while you're just going to go, oh, I know what to do now, roughly. Be careful with asparagus if you are roasting asparagus. Yeah, that roasts very quickly in an air fryer, I discovered. Yes, Kez, I'm glad that you can see that. And Kez is saying it's lovely to see how it's kept you mentally happy. That's because it's using both sides of my brain, Kez. All right? Every day I go, now what am I going to do for Manon? Manon, I have to think very hard, because Manon's not allowed to have aloe. So I was triple checking absolutely everything that I used, so to make sure that there was no aloe in her mix. And to me, that is the interest of it. And then I said to her, if you had a choice, what fragrance would you go for? And she said, orange blossom. Well, I didn't have orange blossom, but I did have sweet orange, which was pretty close. So I said, okay, I'm going to put sweet orange in, because that's the closest I can get. And then I said, and if you had a second choice, what would it be? Jasmine. So I went, okay. So she will get both. Why? because I can get both into one small box. Why send one when I can send two in the same small box? And so to me, let me show you something else. As some of you will know that I've been experimenting because I wanted to be able to do my sort of artwork on in soap bars, all right? So I got the things with nozzles on them, and I've been playing with them, and I made these three. Okay, I'm not good at it yet, but I'm getting there. And then I realized I made them. They're really nice soap, but I forgot to put a fragrance in. I was so busy concentrating on learning how to do the marbling and doing that I forgot to put the fragrance in. Now, does this make this a failure? No. This is a no fragrance soap. Which makes it unisex. All right. My shampoo bar, the poo bar, where's that? The the shampoo bar also is a unisex bar, has no fragrance in it. And that was, again, I forgot to put the fragrance in the first time, and I thought, it's a good idea not to have fragrance, because not everybody wants to have fragrance in their hair, but also, it makes it unisex, that male or female can use it. So I thought that was a good idea. Now, how many of you know I'm going to be quite excited coming up in the next few weeks to try the Kesbar? But I will also remind you, Kez, it's going to come at a time when probably I'll be on the drugs, so anything could happen. Now, there's part of me that wants to see a straw in there. Isn't that weird? Now, why would I want to put a straw in there? Yeah. Maybe for a mocha bar. Or a hot chocolate bar. Yeah. So again, Kez, let's think about this. Why is it a good idea? Yeah, Kez is saying when you cut them, it reminds me of when you see someone cutting georox. Yes. And you know something, it's how it feels. It's just like, I have no idea, and as you see that, and that's really the important part of it, that this is to this completely different. All right. As this is completely different from this one, and yet they're all from the same bar. And so now what I have found out already is that if I'm doing a loaf like that I will sell one set of 6 out of the loaf. In other words, somebody that wants roughly the same to look the same. Yeah. Kez is saying, what about a cut georock? Hold on a second. Yeah, we did do a rough version of that called the rose quartz. You see this one? But I did it that way, so that's interesting. I've just done this one as a little sample one. But yes, I agree with you. So keep coming up with the ideas, and I will keep playing. And I wanted to go back to the. I forgot to put fragrance in here. Do you understand that? To me, this is like, oh, there must be a reason why I've got those without any fragrance in them, and the reason is I need some more that don't have fragrance, because not everybody wants fragrance. And different people are different. So now what I've got is, when you see the shop go live, you will see I've got options um, for the different soaps. If so, yeah, if you actually want to have your own soap, you can order it. You can say, okay, fine, I want a soap that looks like this one, sort of, because it'll never be the same, but I'd like this fragrance, right? And I think that's important, because people do like certain fragrances and they don't like others. So that's about it. Creativity is so important for handling the stress. Remember what Lauren said, right? She cut out her creativity so she could concentrate on her university work, and now realizes she has paid the price for it, because she doesn't have anywhere to go to relax. And it is really important. If you do not make time to relax, then you will pay the price and have to find time because of your mental health issues. Interesting thing. I have found, as you know, the 5-minute task thing works really well for me. I had to cause absolute chaos in my back studio to get a new warm unit in there that I needed for everything to do with the soaps. Because, there are just too many different aspects to it. You need molds, you need different sorts of soap, you need different sorts of colors, you need different, it's just like a different sort of packaging, so I needed a wall unit just with all those things in it. And here was the thing that caused even more chaos in a room that was already chaotic. And then I had to remember, just sort it out 10 minutes at a time. Do not let it overwhelm you. You will, if it takes you the rest of your life, you will get it sorted. Just keep doing 10 minutes a day, and do one more step, one more step. One of the great things that I remember in my life, and it was during, I went to a seminar, and the guy giving the seminar said something that hit me. I always said, if I go to a seminar and they say one thing that really resonates with me, then it was worth the price of the seminar. And this guy, who quite honestly I had not been enjoying, and I thought I'd wasted my money, which probably means I wasn't listening properly. But he then said something, and I did a triple take. I didn't just do a double take. I just went, what did he just say? And I want you to listen very carefully to this, because it is really so important you understand what he meant. He said, if you were accused, it was a sales conference, if you were accused of sales, would there be enough evidence to convict you? In other words, if he came to see what I've been doing this week, could he see that I had done enough to be convicted of the crime of trying to sell something? Does that make sense? So whether it is, if you were convicted of created cooking, would there be enough evidence to convict you? Right? If I had a look at your menu for the week, did you try something new? Did you try new food preparation? Did you try new decoration? Did you try new scissors? Did you try, if you were accused of creative cooking, would there be enough evidence to convict you? I know for a fact that Jody could say yes to that every week. Why? Because I see it. So the question is not, are you perfect at it? The question is, are you doing little steps towards, baby steps towards where you want to go? And if the answer is yes, then you are on the right track. Yes, Kez is saying some people are allergic to scents, and that is why some of my sea breeze will have some shells on it and some won't. But the thing is this, I might need to make one batch of sea breeze without any fragrance at all. And in fact, what I'm going to do is, thank you, Jody, if you could make a note. I'm going to make that an option. So if people can actually ask for a loaf that has no fragrance in it. I was amazed because I didn't know. I've got one person I know who is allergic to aloe vera. That's Manon. I have one person I know that is allergic to eucalyptus. I have one person I know who is allergic to something else that is very common. And so I am being doubly careful with all my labeling, as I send soaps out to make sure that what is in the soap is there. And that some of my soaps, the kiwi, Jeannie, thank you. Can you just remind me on that one? All right. So it's really important for that to be acknowledged. All right. And it doesn't mean I can't make soaps with those things in it. It just means if I'm making for that particular person, I just need to spend that extra time double checking. The Sea Breeze has all sorts of different soaps in it. All right. Each layer has a different type of soap in it. And so that's also important. Because now it's not just what does this soap have in it, all three of them. What do they have in it? So and the way in which they're colored. All right. So when we look at that, it's a risk all the time. And those things are important if you want it to be high there, Jenny. And it was, to me, this is also fascinating about life, that we all are different, that we don't all enjoy the same things. Not everybody will see the creativity, all right, that others do. I want to tell you, I saw the thumbnail that I put up, where is it, for today's broadcast. And I went, wow, I didn't plan it that way. I didn't plan it that way. But how many of you can see this, where it's sand, sea, and then clouds? And, it was just like, that's not how I planned it. But when I looked at the picture, that's what I saw. So not everybody will feel that way. And yet other people will look at it and go, wow, that is amazing. And that is also awesome. However, I did hit a major problem. I wanted to just share with you. And I might have discussed this before, but it is important. We know instinctively when you see handmade soap, the first thing you do is you smell it. But in Canada, I am not allowed to sell soap. By the way, I forgot the fragrance in here as well. So that's going to be a no fragrance bar. In Canada, we are not allowed to ship anything that has a fragrance that can escape the packaging. In other words, everything that has fragrance needs to be shrink wrapped to contain the fragrance. That is great. The only problem is once you shrink wrapped it, nobody can smell it. So what I did is that the first soaps that I made, I shrink wrapped them all. But now I realized, now I've got a problem, because nobody can smell what the fragrance was. That makes sense? So what I've discovered is there is a way around that for me. Anything that is going to stay, where people locally are going to be able to smell it, I am just going to put the fragrance into a bit of the cardboard of the packaging, so that when you go like this, you will be able to smell it. Yeah, Jody, I know, stealth. But I had to think about that for a long time. What am I going to do? I've got to shrink wrap it to be able to ship it. But once I've shrink wrapped it, nobody's going to be able to smell it. And it's the first thing people do. I've noticed that. They pick it up, smell it. So, and the next thing is, what do you do with a soap like this where you know everybody's going to pick it up and smell it, and the foam is fragile? And when I say the foam is fragile, you know that's going to be something that can get dislodged. So the trick is, and I thought that one through. Let me see what I did. Yeah, shrink wrap the whole soap, put the wrapper on it. This is the wrong wrapper. Okay, but put the wrapper on it. The new wrappers have a hole here so you can see what the soap looks like. And then put the fragrance in the wrapping. Makes sense? And then you've got best of both worlds. I don't want to tell you how much time it takes just to do all the different labeling. I cannot tell you how much time I've spent trying to work out the solutions to these problems. But I've been doing it while I've got a brain. And please pray for me that I continue to have a brain by this time in September, because if so, I'll be having a lot of fun. But if not, I'm hoping that I've got most of the problem solving done now. And you will be doing this journey with me, so it's going to be exciting. By the way, how exciting do you think it will be when we have a sale on the internet? You know, for example, I've had to learn a completely new system, and that's fine. By the way, people, you remember I made the mistake when I bought these and they were too small for the reason that I bought them, so I bought another set. And then I said, I can choose to say I'm a bozo, send them back, and wait for the new ones. Or I can go, I need to make something that'll fit in here, remember? And what we decided was that, you know, a couple of snowflakes go in there beautifully. Great for Christmas, stocking stuffers and whatever. Guess what? The second lot arrived, and guess what I did? Made the same mistake. And then I'm thinking, there are no coincidences. That's twice. But now I've got twice the problem of packaging that I haven't got sorted out. And then I thought there has to be a reason why I keep getting this. And I looked in front of me and I saw this. And I went, how magical would it be to have macaroons of soap? Can anybody else imagine that? Where you've got 2 layers of soap and then you've got that foam. I know. And then the perfect packaging. And apparently they're going to be very popular because I've got a load of packaging. So I've now ordered the third batch, and I triple checked the dimensions of the third batch. I'll let you know if I get the right one. But I would never have come up with this if I hadn't done it wrong the first time. All right? Yeah, Jeannie's saying a fantastic idea. And who wouldn't want a macaroon soap? All right? Whether you display it or, you know, and how many of you going, that really is the perfect package, and it fits in the boxes that I've got for shipping. So a perfect present to send somebody, right? And then I found out that 2 of these don't fit in the packaging, only 1. Interesting. So I'm going, that's why, did you notice Did you notice I have some hot little testers here? Why? Because one of those plus one of those will fit in. So anybody orders this, they will also get a freebie because it'll make the perfect combination. When you say that there are no coincidences, where you know whatever happens, there's a reason for it, then it sends your mind off in another direction. When I did this mistake twice, the first time I went, oh, okay, so apparently God wants me to do something different and it needs to be this size. So instead of just embedding the snowflake, can you see the snowflake in there? Instead of embedding the snowflake, I can make a separate soap of the snowflake, right? Then when I got the second lot, I went, now this is not so funny now. It's more money down the drain. And I'm going, no, it's not down the drain. You've just got to think, why did he send you a second set? If you believe in this stuff, why? And I'm standing right here, just going, why? And I'm going, that would be why. But I got a feeling that people will not want one. But what a great idea for stocking stuffers. So I'm hoping that as we go on this journey together, that you guys will understand this is all about balance, right? This is about balance. This is not seeing everything as pass and fail. This is about see the best in everything, not the worst. Oh, yeah, I could say I was a total doofus. I ordered the same mistake twice. Or I can say there's more to the story that you don't know about. So start thinking creatively. What are you going to use them for? How many of you love the idea of reusing the airbags that I get in my stuff from Amazon and filling them with shredded paper that I can make, all right, to fill in the bars? You understand, it's all about, all this is possible. It's all creative, and it's all keeping my mind working, really working. Jody will tell you that I have spent more hours on that website than you can imagine. And it is very hard work, all right? Because it requires incredible focus. But it also brings incredible joy when you realize that works. I have learned so much this week, and I know that I am a healthier person because of it. I am learning new things. Some of you know that is part of who I am. I am constantly learning new things. I am constantly trying new gizmos. I am constantly challenging my mind to come up with a new recipe for my shower. All right? And it works. So when you look at it, I challenge you, don't keep doing the same old, same old. Take a different route for that walk with Stella, Jeannie. Take a different way of using, we were talking about your soap earlier, Jeannie, just so you know. Charlotte was on. Your soap, sorry, your mustard. Use things in a different way and see what happens. This is DearMamaSal saying, don't be boring. Challenge your mind or you will lose it. The most important thing to maintain is our health and our mental health, quite honestly. You don't know that tomorrow will bring a fire. You don't know whether tomorrow will bring a hurricane. And you don't know if tomorrow will bring a fire followed by a hurricane followed by an earthquake, all in the Baja. Be grateful for every day you have. I look at that incredibly smoky sky, and I'm grateful I just have a very hazy outlook. I'm grateful it's not on my doorstep, and I'm having to pack up yet again and start again. Think of all those people in Hawaii. Think of all those people in Kelowna, and just be grateful that we have all that we have, and that we have learned all that we have learned. This is Dear Mama Sal saying thank you so much for being here with me and sharing of your time. I hope some of this brought you joy. I hope some of you get inspired to do something new this week. This is Dear Mama Sal saying thank you, Jody, and thank you, Jeannie, and bye-bye for now.